What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for April 13th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. I don't know if it's going to rain today or what, but baseball and softball both were canceled due to field conditions, which stinks, but this is what we have. So that's why I'm coming at you a little bit late. I was planning on doing it after softball, but now softball is canceled. I don't know. The whole morning's been screwed up because of the weather. But, as always, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, in honor of Joe Blanton's home run, what is the best play in Phillies World Series history? And it was a three-way tie between Utley's fake throw to first and then to home, Joe Blanton's home run, and then the Bob Boone, Pete Rose catch. For my money, it's the Bob Boone, Pete Rose catch, because that made it 2 outs and got the, I believe it was Willie Wilson, got Willie Wilson out of the from hitting. So it definitely changed the course of that game, and if they would have dropped, it probably would have given them new life. Plus, it's just, that was the iconic play because the Phillies were so bad for so long when I was a kid that everybody showed, like, when they did rain delays and they would go and show stuff from, like, the 80s season, which I always thought was pretty cool, until 93, obviously. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There will be another question later. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. All right, a few housekeeping things. Yesterday, I mentioned the Flyers, even when they losing the Stanley Cup, typically they're losing to a team that's about to go on a historic run. And I had said that even the Bruins had gone on a run. And I actually had that wrong. They had won a couple before losing to the Flyers the first time. And then they did go back to the Cup Finals in 77-78. So they didn't win it after the Flyers beat them. So maybe the best chance the Flyers will have is that they play a team that has won. So maybe like a Vegas or something if they get there. But as always, I want to make sure things are correct when I give them to you. The Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class has been announced. All the information you need is in the description. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor or donating, if you have a restaurant or something like that and you want to donate something for the auction, let me know that as well. We're definitely looking for sponsors and donations and just things to auction off. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports related either. So if you're out there and you own a business that you want to get your name out there and have stuff, whether it's a service industry or something like that, you want to donate, let me know that as well. Buy your tickets early because I'm telling you, this thing is going to sell out fast. Everything you need, there's a link in the description for that. But if you are interested in being a sponsor or getting your business out there, let me know that and we'll go from there. All right, hit me up on social media. Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mont. Hit me up on Facebook. Tell a friend. Let's help grow this thing and see where we can take it. Finally, before we get into the episode today, wanted to kind of touch on something that came up. I saw, obviously, we talked a little bit about O.J. Simpson dying, and the Football Hall of Fame said that they're going to continue to honor his football career. And it kind of got me thinking, like, where is the line that you draw? Because, like, there's some things, I think it was Darren Sharper has some rape allegations, I think, that he's not been included on the Pro Football Hall of Fame ballots recently since that came up. We all know Pete Rose, there's the Philly tie that his gambling is keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. And I just wonder where that line is drawn. Like, what can you do? Because you have in baseball all of the steroid guys, and I think that's a little bit different because of the fact it impacted the numbers and the play on the field. But just something to think about. Like, O.J. Simpson wasn't necessarily convicted of murder, but he did have some other legal issues. But does what a person is off the field how much of that should impact what they've done on the field and whether or not they should be celebrated. And even Pete Rose is sort of that in between because he was betting on his team. And again, I mean, but he was betting on his team to win. And I don't know. I feel like if you're betting on your team to lose and you're the manager of the team, that's one thing. But I mean, I guess I don't know. And I get there's rules, but for me with Pete Rose, it's a interesting case because, like I said, he's the manager of the team and he's betting on them to win. So like he's doing and making all of the right moves with his bet also in mind, as well as the benefit of the team. But just something to kind of think about and talk about, like how much should a player's personal life bleed into what they do on the field. And I think in the way our society is with a lot of things coming up and skeletons, I guess, in people's closets, like people that we have celebrated are coming out. Like, where is that line? And I don't want to get too far into this because this could be a very sensitive and divisive topic. But just something like keeping it in the sports realm, like where is that line? So let me know your thoughts on that. It's not the question of the day, just your thoughts. 267-495-8531 on the Back to the Future text line. But like I said, just some things I was thinking about yesterday because I'm like, yeah, I mean, he was a scumbag as a person, O.J. Simpson, but I mean, he was a damn good player, both in college and pros. So where does that line get drawn? All right. Sixers news. I guess the big story yesterday was the unveiling of the Allen Iverson statue on the hall of, or walk of whatever, at the practice facility. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, the size of the statue. And I mean, it's one of those things the public is never going to see. It's only for the players. I don't know. He seemed to be very emotional and honored by it. And they're going to celebrate him tomorrow. And I mean, I feel like we've been celebrating, and don't get me wrong, I love Allen Iverson, but I feel like we've been celebrating him for like almost 20 years now, ever since he retired. It's Allen Iverson Day, Allen Iverson Day. But I will say, I mean, he does deserve it. Like he's just one of those guys. But just figured I mentioned that because once again, we're having the 1 millionth Allen Iverson Day at the Wells Fargo Center tomorrow. But again, not taking away anything from him. He wants to be involved. So, I mean, listen, if it's going to motivate the team and get the fans involved, I'm all for it. Meanwhile, on the court yesterday, what a great win for the Sixers, 125-113. They are now in a three-way tie for the fifth spot with the Magic and Pacers. I'll get into the tiebreakers and things like that. But one game left. They have the Nets at home. The Magic play the Bucks, so the Bucks are still trying to get that 2 seed. And then the Pacers and the Hawks play each other. So it should be a fun day tomorrow. But the thing I noticed yesterday, I mean, Joe is just great. But the guys that got extended playing time when Joe was out, like a B-ball Paul, and those guys like that, like the bench has so much experience. And I think that's what you're seeing the difference is. Like you're getting those guys off the bench who have experience now playing against the top, the ones on other teams. And I think that's why they're undefeated, really. Or I guess they lost the one game since Joe's been back. But they've won 7 in a row now. And I think part of that is due to the fact that the bench has gotten that extended runs against the top lines or top lineups for the other team. And I think that's going to be boding well once we get into the playoffs. Now, as far as the playoffs go, all of this is dependent. Sixers need to win. And there's a lot of different scenarios. So let's start with the obvious one first. If the Sixers lose, they're playing in the play-in tournament. And depending on what Miami does, that'll determine who gets the home court for that. The worst case scenario, if they win, would be if the Sixers win and then the Magic and Pacers both win. Because of it, like if it's the standings stay the way they are now, the Sixers would lose the tiebreaker because the Magic would win the division. and then the Pacers have the tiebreaker over the Sixers. Sixers would be the 7th seed. That's kind of like that worst case scenario. But they would also get the home game against Miami. If the Magic win and the Pacers lose, they would get the 5 seed, play Cleveland in the first round, and then have that matchup in the second round against Boston. And again, that's probably not the best case scenario, but at least they would be out of the play-in. And I mean, you're going to eventually have to beat Boston anyway. It is what it is. The other scenario would be if the Pacers win and the Magic lose, they get the 6th seed. And that's probably the best case scenario because then they would play, I believe it would be the Knicks maybe. And the Knicks are kind of banged up. I think that probably would be the best situation. If both teams lose and the Sixers win, they get the 5 seed. And again, I don't think it really matters one way or the other, only because you're going to have to play these teams anyway. I just want a 5 or a 6 seed and rather not leave it up to chance that you're playing a 1-game elimination to see. Well, I guess technically they'd have the second game, but like you don't want to mess with that. You don't want because if they lose the play-in, that means they would if they win the second part of the play-in, they would have to play Boston. So best case scenario, just win and keep winning and let the other stuff take care of itself. So it should be an interesting day. Lots of flipping and scoreboard watching tomorrow. But Sixers are in a good position right now. Would love to get that 6th seed and play Milwaukee. That would be – I would like that. But we'll see what happens as we go. But lots of basketball tomorrow. If you want more basketball, check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences. They're doing a great job with the NBA. Anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. That's the Clashing Conferences podcast. All right, Flyers in another do-or-die situation today against the Devils. They come into the game trailing the Islanders by 4 points, which I think the Flyers have 2 games left. Trailing the Islanders by 4 points. The Islanders are in action against the Rangers. They trail the Penguins, Capitals, and Red Wings each by 1 point, and their schedules are pretty tough. I mean, the Penguins are playing the Bruins, the Capitals are playing the Lightning, and the Red Wings are playing the Maple Leafs. So, again, we'll have a clearer picture going into the final game for the Flyers. But, again, I think it's a moot point if they don't win. So, definitely be watching that today. And then, obviously... excuse me, you have the Phillies on, which leads me to the question of the day. Lots of good sports this weekend, and if your fields are anything like mine, no baseball/softball, so it's a good day for sports watching. You have a ton of things to choose from. What is your much watched this weekend? Is it the Masters? Is it Sixers Nets tomorrow? Phillies Pirates all weekend? Or Flyers Devils today? Let me know. 267-495-8531. Scott, I'm already put you down as a Masters guy, so no need to vote. We know what you'll be watching. But everybody else, let me know what you're watching. Is it the Masters, Sixers, Phillies, or Flyers today? What is your must-see TV for the weekend? 267-495-8531. Like I said, Scott, I already penciled you in for the Masters. No need to vote. All right, Phillies lost 5-2 to the Pirates yesterday. They're back in Game 3 today. They wore the uniforms, the City Connect uniforms, and I still don't like them. I think what it is, it's the font. Like, I hate that font. I think that to me, and if they were all the same shade of blue, I think that is also too, like the light to dark. Like if it was just the light or the dark with the yellow, I think it would be fine. And I think either shade would look good. But I think to me that is what's doing it for me. I don't know. Let me know what you think about the uniforms. I know some people like them now that they seen the players. I mean, I think the hats are awesome. But like it's the font and the two-tone color. I don't know. But Christopher Sanchez was pretty solid on the mound. He did make 2 errors, though. but had 6 Ks. Left the game with a 2-1. The bullpen couldn't keep it down for him, but the offense was atrocious, 1-5 with runners in scoring position. And maybe it was the uniforms. Who knows? I don't know. They the 1979 the all maroon that they brought back, the Saturday night specials. The team voted to get rid of them. I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of these uniforms though, because of how many. It's all dependent upon jerseys and sales for merchandise, but I hate them. Like I said, I think it's like if they were all the same shade, I think I'd be good. If the font was different, I would be good. Obviously, I would like the font to be different with a different shade, but I don't like them. I don't like them. So if you're like me and you want to get one of the hats, but you don't want to buy one of those shirts and the jerseys or whatever, you know who's got you covered. Philly Goat. They have their Philly City Connect. They call it the Philly Connect, but it's basically their version and their take on the City Connect shirts or City Connect jerseys. They have shirts, hats. They even have some jerseys, pants. You can grab some shoes that match. I was going through the canvas loafers, and there were so many different options you could do. But check it out. They got the font right. It's written in the old school Phillies script. That's what they needed. Like if they had that on the front of those shirt that said Philly, I'd be in. I already bought one yesterday, so hopefully that's coming soon. But check it out. Ryan and the team over at Philly Goat, they did the City Connect versions right. I don't know why Nike, the Phillies, Major League Baseball did not contact them, because that's what it should have been. And I would have taken that font, the old school Philly script, in the yellow writing with the two-tone, and have been perfectly fine with it. And this is definitely the fashion segment for the day. But go to phillygoat.com. Check out their Philly Connect series. I already bought my shirt. Hopefully it will be coming soon. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery when you check out for 10% off your order. Again, I even like the hats. They have nice, with the same logo on it, the Philly script hats. They have the trucker style. They have the flex fit. Whatever your preference is, they got you covered. Philly Goat did the City Connect correct. Go check it out. Buy them today. Be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Helps you out, helps me out, helps them out, and then allows you to partake in the City Connect without having to wear those ugly jerseys. They got you covered. phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. All right, Eagles news. Sign Smitty. I know it's coming. Today would be a great day, Howie. Just do it today. You can have the press conference Monday. Everybody's happy. Sign Devontae now. Make it happen. All right, today I'm going to do a little bit of a two for Saturday. And the first one, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on because I talk about it all the time, but I'd be remiss if I did not mention this today. On this day in 2009, legendary Phillies broadcaster Harry Kalas passed away while they were on a road trip. I believe they were in D.C. for that. And definitely, again, this one hit me hard only because I say it all the time. It's like the soundtrack for my summers and my childhood, and just love the voice. It was pretty cool when I took a tour of Citizens Bank Park last year, being able to see the broadcast booth and how they purposely aligned where Harry sat and where the statue of Richie Ashburn is in Ashburn Alley, so he could always see him while he was doing the broadcast. But yeah, this one, like I said, this one hit me hard because it just reminded me so much of childhood. But on this day in 2009, legendary Phillies broadcaster Harry Kalas passed away while the Phillies were on the road. All right, and then today we're going to stick Phillies the rest of the way, by the way. But on this day, back in 1987, and this is all going to come full circle, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. On this day in 1987, the Phillies lost to the Cubs 5-2 at the Vet. The pitching matchup for that day was Don Carmen for the Phillies versus a second-year guy for the Cubs by the name of Jamie Moyer, who was from Souderton High School, St. Joe's graduate. Now, it took me a minute to kind of process this as well. think about what I just said. This day in 1987, we know that Jamie Moyer was on the 2008 Phillies World Series team. So just as you go, think about the numbers, and like I picture the guy from The Hangover when he's sitting there counting the cards with all the numbers. Think about that. On this day in 1987, he was his second year in the majors. Jamie Moyer pitching against his hometown team, the Phillies, and the Cubs won 5-2. It was his second seasons in the major. He was making his first start of that season in 1987. The Cubs led 5-0 in the bottom of the ninth, and Jamie Moyer had a no-hitter against his childhood team going into the ninth inning. Unfortunately for the Jamie Moyer and the Cubs, Juan Samuel led off a single in the ninth, ending the no-hit bid. Maybe that's why they put Juan Samuel in the Wall of Fame. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back through the archives. And not a big fan of Juan Samuel being in the Phillies Wall of Fame. But we'll leave it at that. But maybe because he broke up Jamie Moyer's no-hitter, that's why they put him in. Jamie Moyer's final line that day was 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 6 walks, and 12 strikeouts. And everybody talks now about, I think Jamie Moyer was not a flamethrower, but he had 12 strikeouts in this game. The Cubs did go on to win 5-2. We know it comes full circle. He played for the Phillies in 2008 and was a big part of their World Series run in 08 and 09. But it's hard to believe. He ended up pitching 25 years because if you remember, he came back. He retired and came back for one season and pitched in a couple games. But 25 years in the majors. Souderton High School graduate, St. Joe's graduate, just an all-around good dude. Jamie Moyer, on this day back in 1987, lost a no-hitter in the ninth by Phillies legend Juan Samuel. If you can see my face, you know I'm being facetious there. But I figured that was a cool story to go, and it will come full circle here because today's top 20 memory of the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park is the 2008 World Series Game 5 Part 2. Excuse me. The Game 5 started on October 27th. So this is in part in honor of Jamie Moyer, in part in honor of Harry Callis. This is why we're doing this memory today. Part 1, John Oates came out and sang the national anthem, not to be confused with One Baba Booey. The Phillies were up 2-0 after the first inning. They were up 2-1 after 5 innings, which that's important because technically this was an official game. The Tampa Bay Rays scored a run in the top of the 6th, and then magically the ump said, we need to call this game because now you can call it and they would have to pick up where it was. And again, you don't necessarily want to have a team win the World Series after a 5-inning game, but the Phillies kind of got screwed on that. Major League Baseball would go on and make up change the rule. But I mean, it was ridiculous. The game should have been they could have literally postponed that game in the 4th inning. It was so bad instead of letting them play. But I think once they got to a certain point, they had to see what they could do with Tampa Bay winning. But I mean, you could see it when they were playing. There's puddles everywhere. Anyway, they called the game. It rained all day the 28th. Resumed on October 29th with the Phillies batting in the bottom of the 6th. Jeff Jenkins pinch hit for Cole Hamels, doubled, was bunted to third by Jimmy Rollins, and then Jason Worth knocked him in. The Phillies were up 3-2, and we thought that was it because then you had Romero, Madsen, and Lidge. But then Rocco Baldelli came up, hit a solo homer off of Ryan Madsen, the bridge to Lidge to tie the game. Then Pat Burrell led off the 7th with a double that almost went out. And like that place would have exploded more than it was at the time if Pat Burrell's ball would have gone out. But instead he doubled. It happened to be his only hit that entire World Series and his last one as a Philly, but it was a big one. Eric Bruntlund pinched hit for him, and often forgotten in this game was Pedro Feliz was the one that knocked in the winning run. Everybody remembers Burrell's hit, Jenkins' hit, and all of that, and Bruntlund scoring the run. But lost in all of that was Pedro Feliz. He should probably get more credit for being the guy that knocked in the winning run for Game 5 of the World Series. And then Lidge came in, closed it out, and then Harry Kalas gave the infamous call. Now the Phillies are world champions of baseball. And like, kudos to Chris Wheeler too for that, for stepping back and not stepping on and talking over Harry Kalas and giving him that moment. But again, Major League Baseball did change the rules, but Jamie Moyer, like, this is how it all comes full circle. The greatest call I think Harry Kalas ever made, and that's going back to all the Mike Schmidts and all that, was when the Phillies finally won this. Jamie Moyer picked up the mound and took the mound from Citizens Bank Park. After that, all of this, the top 20 memory, probably my favorite memory at Citizens Bank Park. Well, one of them. We'll get into the last one later in the month. But the Phillies winning the World Series, Game 5, took 2 times to do it. Started off with John Oates, ended with Harry Kalas making the call, and just a phenomenal time to be a fan. And I know some people still to this day don't believe me when I say this, but for me, this Phillies World Series meant more than the Eagles Super Bowl, only because it was the first one we had in so many years, and just how much the Phillies meant to me growing up. But that is today's top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. And then finally today, we're going to pick up, and this is where we're going to pick up the next year, our Philly sports team with unfinished business, who this team left a plate full of wings with a lot of meat on the bone. The 2009 through 2011 Phillies. The defending champs in 2009 lost to the World Series in Yankees. That was the year they picked up Cliff Lee. And I think a couple moments in that World Series that often are forgotten, they won Game 1 in pretty dominant fashion. Chase Utley hit a homer. Cliff Lee was just spectacular. He had the infamous when he just stuck his glove out like he was bored catching it on the pop-up. And then Game 3 at Citizens Bank Park, because it was the first time they were starting to use replay, but they put the camera and they hung it like outside of like in the field of play. And they called it a home run for A-Rod after reviewing it. To me, it hit the camera while it was in play. Should have been a ground rule double. I still don't understand that rule. Like, because if a fan reaches over and tries to interfere with a ball, it's a ground rule double. If the ball hits off the wall, bounces back in, it's a ground rule double. The camera, that's like Major League Baseball and Fox's fault for that, but the Phillies got screwed on that. They ended up losing Game 3. Game 4, they were dominating the Yankees again, and then Brad Lidge blew the save when Johnny Damon stole second and nobody covered third, and he just went boom, boom, boom. Had 2 stolen bases on the same play, so that was just a boneheaded move. They should have won Game 4. And then Game 5, Cliff Lee came out and dominated. It was the one game we were at. I had an obstructed view seat. I was looking right behind the foul pole, but I did see the only home game that they won in the World Series that year. So it was bullshit. They should have won that series. And then 2010 was the Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt year. They lost the NLCS to the Giants 4-2. Lots of one-run games in that series, and they blew a 4-2 lead in Game 4. They blew Game 6. That was a frustrating one because I still feel they were a better team than the Giants, and then they would have actually gone to the World Series to face Cliff Lee on the Texas Rangers. And then 2011 is when it all just kind of fell apart. They had the 4 aces, dominated, had 102 wins, the most in team history, but the bats went cold in that last game, Game 5. I remember sitting in that game. They gave up 1 run, and I'm like, Halladay was always bad in the first inning, and then he kind of got it together, and he shut down the Cardinals. The Phillies only had 3 hits. And we all know how it ended with Ryan Howard blowing his Achilles. And I still think like him laying there with a blown Achilles sort of symbolizes the end of the Phillies' golden era there. And then after that, they just got old fast. But frustrating, I know. They got the one in 2008. That team should have won at least one more World Series. Like how they did not win one more, it just blows my mind. But it just goes to show, and it's a cautionary tale for the Dodgers, and we've seen what the Braves have done. The best teams throughout the regular season don't always win. It's who gets hot at the right time, and with the Phillies the past couple of years have shown that. So just remember, It's a long season, and it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But today's team, that Phillies team that left a ton of meat on the bone and has unfinished business, is the 09 through 2011 Phillies. Our top 20 moment for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park was Game 5 of the World Series. The Phillies finally breaking through, ending the curse. You go back and through, and remember they put William Penn back on top of the Comcast Center. But one of the greatest moments of my life was when they finally won it. And again, I put that up there over the Eagles winning the Super Bowl because it was the first one. I don't think I would have known how to react if the Eagles won it first. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I was still ecstatic that the Eagles won. Let's not get that twisted. All right. On this day back in 1987, Jamie Moyer lost a no-hitter against the Phillies for the Cubs in the ninth inning when Juan Samuel hit a single to lead off the ninth. Also, rest in peace, Harry Callis, who passed away on this day in 2009. Let me know what you're watching this weekend. 267-495-8531. Give me your thoughts on the Phillies uniforms. Hit me up on social media. Let's go. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.